Imagine reaching the peak of music fame, breaking records, and topping charts worldwide. Now picture doing all of this while facing constant criticism and widespread dislike. This is the perplexing reality for Drake, a rap superstar who ignites strong opinions like few others in the industry. Accused of lacking authenticity and embroiled in controversies, Drake finds himself under relentless scrutiny. What fuels this pervasive animosity? Is it envy, genuine critique, or something deeper rooted in cultural perception? We will go through the complex reasons behind the love-hate relationship with one of music's most polarizing figures. Let's unwrap why Drake continues to stir such passionate debate and explore the highs, lows, and controversies that define his public image. Everyone has a strong dislike for Drake because they found his music average and were upset that he overshadowed Future's early successful period. However, Drake's new project was surprisingly good, and it even turned the majority into a fan despite their initial negative feelings. So, everyone was shocked to see that many critics and people on the internet hated it. There are valid reasons to criticize Life. Drake calling it a playlist seems like a way to avoid tough reviews that albums usually get. Like his other albums, it's too long with 22 tracks, and some songs feel like filler. No long talk is particularly bad, it almost made me stop listening. But the strong dislike that was coming from other parts of the music internet seemed too bitter and aimed at more than just minor disagreements about length or technical details. This hatred for Drake ran deeper than that. It definitely couldn't have been sparked by a song as joyful as Madiba Rhythm, which fixed the flaws of Drake's biggest hit to create an undeniably great record. This anger and negativity weren't originating from Drake this time. They were coming from within the reviewers themselves. So it raises the question, why all the hate for Drake, and where exactly is it coming from? There are a few reasons. A lot of the dislike for Drake comes from people not liking him as a person. He has many conflicting views while he portrays himself as both sad and triumphant from his high position on the CN Tower. He travels around the world and acts like a playboy, but expects every woman he's been with to be pure. He acts like he's come from nothing when he's really been on soap operas. He's good at criticizing others while hiding his own actions, trying to make people feel sorry for his problems while using his platform to attack less famous rappers. Overall, Drake appears to be someone who will do or say anything to win people's approval worldwide. He's like the Old Testament God, really eager to be liked, and you can see this in everything he does, including his sometimes conflicting sports team loyalties. This desire for approval often influences how people criticize his music. When Drake scores big with a Caribbean style of music that feels disconnected from his background despite Toronto's diversity, or when he features an emerging rapper to boost both their careers as seen with Versace, or when he uses Caribbean dialects that some find inappropriate, we tend to view these actions as Drake trying too hard to keep us liking him. This changes our perception of Drake from a pop star who does what pop stars do to stay relevant, like embracing new musical styles, to someone who cunningly calculates Instagram likes and market trends. He presents himself as an underdog and relatable guy, but it comes off as fake, and that's not what we want from our mainstream music stars. But really, it's unreasonable to believe that someone as immersed in hip-hop and related genres as Drake wouldn't learn and evolve. He travels worldwide to share his music and adapts his style as he moves through different time zones. If you can't appreciate tracks like Get It Together, you're missing out on pure joy. Drake's success has become a double-edged sword for him. He's undeniably the biggest rapper in the world right now, and is even considered one of the biggest stars across all music genres. This level of fame and influence brings great benefits to Drake, his family, Apple Music, and everyone associated with him. However, this overwhelming success may not be entirely positive for Drake when it comes to his music and lyrics due to how he perceives himself. Drake often portrays himself as someone who faces adversity and deserves sympathy. This image helped him gain recognition when he transitioned from being a Canadian child actor to pursuing a career in rap. Back then, it made sense to emphasize his struggles. But now, with his songs amassing over 10 billion streams and his immense global popularity, some critics argue that Drake's continued focus on portraying himself as an underdog or someone deserving of pity may not resonate as authentically. Despite his undeniable talent and ability to evolve with the music industry, Drake's narrative of overcoming obstacles may not be as convincing to everyone, especially as his success continues to soar. This perspective leads to debates about how genuine his persona remains in the face of such immense success and acclaim. People who tune in during their commute to a job they dislike don't want to hear a constant stream of complaints like what was heard on Views from someone who made more money in a day than they might earn in a lifetime. Many rappers understand inherently that flaunting excessive wealth can make them seem like the bad guy. 50 Cent's song Poor Lil Rich tackled this idea but didn't use it to gripe. Instead, he rapped about scandalous acts in a luxury car. However, this critique doesn't quite fit More Life, where much of the music is upbeat and celebratory. So we're left wondering, what's the real reason behind the widespread dislike for Drake? From the very start of his career, it has been trendy to dislike Drake, even though the reasons for this sentiment have evolved over time. There were those who hated his soft and emotional style on his early mixtapes and albums who didn't like the weird vulnerability that Drake was injecting into a genre that was still deeply tangled in its own machismo. We assume these folks have stopped listening to new rap music entirely at this point. There are those who once praised Drake's early efforts as fantastic, but later found albums like Nothing Was the Same to be corny or boring. I'm guilty of this myself. And of course, there are still people who dislike Drake for using a ghostwriter, a controversy famously sparked by Meek Mill. The reality is there has always been a certain trendiness in criticizing Drake. It's almost like a cultural phenomenon where it's deemed cool to hate on him. As each new Drake album or project is released, many listeners approach it with preconceived biases and deep-seated animosity towards him that they can't seem to set aside long enough to give his music a fair chance. So to all the critics of More Life, it's worth considering these biases. This album, for instance, includes a track featuring Young Thug, where the tired stereotype of Drake's English version is refreshingly absent. Drake actively challenges stereotypes and deserves credit for that. It's important to acknowledge Drake's contributions and artistic risks, even if you've been critical of him in the past. Perhaps it's time to reassess our perspectives and recognize the innovation and diversity he brings to the music industry, despite any personal biases we may hold. As we conclude our exploration into why Drake is such a lightning rod for criticism, it's clear that his impact on music and culture is undeniable. Whether you love him or find reasons to dislike him, Drake's journey continues to shape the landscape of contemporary music. What are your thoughts on the controversy surrounding Drake? Join the conversation in the comments below.